A cold key turns, the air shifts, stone breathes. You step under Rome, past the last lamp, where light falls thin and gold. The guard nods once. Iron doors wait like sleeping giants. Your breath slows, your heartbeat finds the old rhythm of the walls. A seal breaks, dust lifts. Not dead dust, living dust that remembers prayers, ink, and hands. Shelves stretch into warm shadow, a velvet box, a wax stamp. A small label, written by a steady hand long ago. You touch nothing, you only listen. Whispers rise like wind through parchment. Maps that never made it to daylight. Letters that could bend a crown. Bones wrapped in linen. A ring that feels too heavy for one finger. A chalice with a dent that looks like a thumbprint of time. None of it shouts. It hums steady, patient, sure. The vault asks for silence, and you give it. The room gives you something back, calm, awe, a gentle pull to keep going. Door by door, box by box. You are not here to prove. You are here to feel. To let the night carry you through secret halls, past the lock, to the treasure most people miss peace. We begin inside the hush. No tour, no crowd, just the soft tick of time under stone. The corridor narrows, then opens into rooms that hold more than gold. These rooms hold weight, the kind you feel in your chest when history stands close. This is not a chase, it is a descent. We move gently, step by step, through shadowed vaults and golden chambers, where stories sleep in boxes and binders, in locks and linen. Some pieces are famous by rumour only, others never had a name. All radiate the same quiet truth. What we keep says who we are. You will hear of maps that redraw borders of faith and power. Letters with ink still dark, written by hands that shaped kingdoms. You will see relics wrapped with care, carried through storms, guarded through wars, kissed in silence by those who believed. We will not judge, we will listen. We will let each object speak in its own small voice. This is a sleep story. It does not rush. It invites you to notice texture vellum edges, wax cracks, the cool curve of a chalice, the smooth rim of a ring. It asks you to breathe with the room, to feel the steady pulse beneath the Vatican stone. It offers a question. What is treasure, truly? Gold that gleams? A letter that heals? A secret that keeps harm away? As we walk, doors open. Some reveal splendour, some reveal absence, a missing page, an empty frame, a label without a box. Emptiness is a kind of treasure too. It shows the space where a story once was, and where your calm can now settle. Come with me. Let the whispers do their work. Let wonder be the light that guides your steps. The corridor is already narrow when the light begins to thin. A single lamp clings to the wall, its golden flame reaching, stretching, almost sighing as the air grows heavy around it. The flame bends as though it knows you will not return this way soon. You pause, and your eyes catch the shimmer of iron hinges set deep into stone, older than memory. The lamp's glow pushes against them, painting the iron with a soft bronze sheen. This is the last lamp before the vault, the final trace of the world above. Beyond here, there is no ordinary night, no ordinary shadow, only silence that knows more than words. The stone around you holds chill, but not unfriendly. It is a calm chill, like water drawn from a deep well in summer. The walls are smooth where countless hands have brushed against them, priests and keepers carrying keys, scholars with scrolls wrapped in cloth, workers bearing boxes without names. Every step is marked by a hush, as though the air itself bows to what waits ahead. You stand before this final lamp and breathe, feeling how your own chest becomes a chamber for stillness. The flame trembles, but you do not. The path here was chosen for you long before you set foot on the worn stones. Some call this superstition, others secrecy, but here, in the rhythm of your breath and the beat of your heart, you recognize it as invitation. The lamp does not push you back, nor does it urge you forward. It only lights enough for you to choose. You step beyond it, and immediately the flame falls away behind you like a memory. Ahead, darkness deepens, but it does not crush. It embraces, as if stone itself is carrying you. Your steps fall softer, the corridor grows wider, and the ceiling arches high above, disappearing into shadow. Each breath seems to echo, not with sound but with presence. You feel as though each inhalation is being recorded in the very dust of this place, added to centuries of quiet breaths before yours. The air tastes faintly of metal and wax, old paper and stone polished by time. It is neither stale nor fresh. It is eternal, the scent of things that have chosen not to fade. Your fingers brush the wall and find a groove. It is not decoration, not script, just the memory of a craftsman's hand. How many centuries ago was the stone cut? Was it morning, when the air above smelled of bread? Or was it night, under torchlight, when chants filled the basilica above? You imagine the rhythm of hammers, the murmur of Latin words, the solemn patience of hands carving space for secrets. And you understand, this vault is not hidden by accident. It was dreamed into being with intent, built to hold more than objects. It was built to hold silence itself. The corridor bends, and the air thickens as though guarding the turn. For a moment you sense something beyond sight. The weight of parchment layered like years, the density of gold sealed behind iron, the vibration of relics resting in sleep. Each unseen presence brushes against your awareness, not rushing forward, not demanding. They wait. They have always waited, your footsteps slow until you are nearly drifting. The stones beneath your feet cool the soles of your shoes. Somewhere deep inside, you realize this moment is part of the treasure, the threshold, the awareness of entering. The lamp above is far behind now. Darkness holds you, yet not blindly. It guides by removing distraction. You see less, but you feel more. And in that feeling, you learn the first secret. Treasure is not always in what is revealed. Sometimes it is in what remains unseen. You pause once more before the final bend, and in the silence you hear it the faintest whisper of your own heartbeat bouncing off ancient walls. The vault ahead is not just a place, it is a mirror. And as you breathe, you sense that you carry your own vault within you, filled with memories, longings, quiet relics of your own story. This walk is not only downward into stone, but inward into the deeper chamber of your own mind. When you turn the bend, the air shifts again. Something vast waits beyond. And though you cannot yet see it, you know, the last lamp has already given you what you need. You carry the light now, within. He does not speak. He does not need to. You round the bend, and he stands there, still as carved stone, robed in shadow and light. The keeper. His eyes lift, and for a breath you think he sees through you, past you, into every chamber of your life. Then you realize he sees nothing at all, he simply knows. A nod, small, almost imperceptible, but in this place it is everything. No key is shown to you, no scroll of permission. Only that nod, a gesture that folds centuries into a single moment. It is the same nod he gave countless seekers before you, those allowed to step deeper. Not all received it, not all were ready, but you, standing here with the lamp behind and the vault ahead, receive it. The nod is both lock and opening. He steps aside. You catch the faint rustle of fabric, a breath of incense clinging to him. His hand brushes the wall as if reminding it of your passing. And then he becomes part of the silence again, no longer an obstacle but a witness. You walk forward, aware of his presence behind you, a shadow of trust and weight. Every echo of your steps now carries not only your sound but his permission. The air feels changed as though that single nod altered its shape. Deeper you move, where corridors become chambers, where chambers become halls, torches flicker dimly in iron brackets. Some burn low, some only smoke, as if reluctant to die. Each flame trembles, like a scribe's candle left burning overnight. You think of monks copying words line by line, eyes straining, heart steady, preserving truths the world would one day forget. The keeper's nod still lingers inside you. It is not only acceptance, it is a charge, a reminder: walk with care, do not rush, do not seek to own. You are not here to conquer but to witness. You feel this lesson settle into your chest, like a soft stone dropped into a still pond. The corridor narrows again, but this time it does not close you in. Instead, it focuses you. Your breath aligns with the steady rhythm of your steps. Time becomes less, space becomes less. There is only the nod, the path, and the silence. A gate rises before you. Wrought iron, blackened by centuries, its bars thick as arms. A lock shaped like a chalice sits in the centre, large but silent. You lean closer, and in the faint gleam you see symbols etched deep into the iron. Fish, stars, keys crossed like roads. The symbols hum with quiet resonance, not sound but presence. They are reminders of old truths, that faith and secrecy often walked side by side. The keeper's nod echoes again within you. You do not touch the gate, you simply breathe. And slowly, with a weight that feels both natural and immense, the gate swings inward, no clang, no creak. Only a deep exhale, as though the stone itself has opened its ribs to let you pass. The vault is nearer now. The nod has carried you farther than any key. You stand before the door, not a door like any other, but a slab of iron riveted into stone, edges lined with wax seals, each one stamped by hands now dust. The seals are unbroken, some cracked with age, but intact. You lean closer, and the wax glimmers faintly red in the torchlight. Impressions rise like small hills. The crossed keys of St. Peter, the tiara crown, Latin words faded into blur. Each seal hums with its own gravity. They are not simply symbols. They are witnesses, holding silence in place. At the centre of the door, the keyhole. Wide, ancient, made not for speed, but for ceremony. Keys here were never turned quickly. They were turned with prayer, slowly, reverently. Knowing that with every rotation, another layer of history shifted. You do not see the key yet, but you feel it near, waiting. Perhaps in a keeper's hand. Perhaps resting already in your own, though unseen. This is the mystery. Sometimes doors open not because of keys in metal, but because of keys in breath, in heart, in readiness. You close your eyes. Your palm lifts, not to touch the door, but to sense it. The iron radiates not heat, but memory. You feel the weight of centuries pressing outward. Behind it, relics that once touched kings, saints, and exiles. Behind it, parchments where voices once trembled with hope and fear. Behind it, treasures too great to display and too fragile to expose. The seal is more than wax. The key is more than iron. They are mirrors. They ask you, what in your own life have you sealed away? What doors have you kept locked? What treasures inside you wait for a nod, a key, a breath of courage to open? You breathe deeply, and for a moment the iron seems to breathe with you. A low vibration moves through the stone, not sound, but a presence, as if the vault itself recognizes your arrival. A click, not loud, gentle, almost hesitant, yet certain. The seal does not shatter, it sighs. The wax softens as though warmed by unseen flame. The keyhole glimmers faintly, and the edges of the door shift. You open your eyes, and the door leans inward by a fraction, just enough to release a new breath of air. Old air, heavy, rich, filled with dust and candle smoke and parchment. The scent of centuries greets you like an old friend, reminding you that nothing truly leaves, it only changes shape. You have not yet entered, but the seal has released, the key has turned, the vault begins to open. The door eases inward, and the air that greets you feels older than memory. It does not rush or overwhelm. It lingers like incense that never left, folding around you in thin currents. Beyond, the chamber breathes, and your steps echo not as interruption, but as continuation, as though the room has been waiting centuries for your sound to join its silence. Against the first wall rests a lectern of oak, dark with oil and polish, corners worn to softness by countless hands. On it lies a book, thick, bound in cracked leather, its cover unmarked save for a single gilded cross. The weight of the book is visible before it is ever lifted. You lean closer. Dust edges the spine, but the pages are alive with a kind of glow, as though the parchment remembers firelight and candle flame. You open the ledger, and the sound is soft, like fabric unfolding. Columns of names and numbers, room after room, listed in a careful script that slants gently to the right. The ink, though faded, still clings to its strokes. Each line is a threshold, one chamber described, one entry sealed, one presence remembered. The book is not narrative. It does not tell stories in sentences. It whispers in lists, in order, in the comfort of sequence. You trace a finger along the first column. Room 1, reliquary. Room 2, cartography. Room 3, chalices. Room 4, bones. The words are simple, yet each opens a vast door in your imagination. You picture maps folded under wax, chalices still smelling faintly of wine, bones wrapped in linen, waiting in patience. The ledger does not describe them. It only names them, as though naming alone preserves their being. The script is steady, but not without human touch. A small smudge where ink once blotted, a flourish that suggests pride in a letter, a faint correction where the scribe paused and began again. You feel the presence of the hand that wrote it. The ledger is not cold record, it is prayer. The act of writing became an act of care, of anchoring what might otherwise vanish. You turn another page, more lists, more rooms, some marked with symbols you do not yet understand, a cross beside one entry, a circle beside another, a faint star beside yet another. Perhaps signs of importance, or warning, or reverence. The meanings are locked inside the mind of the scribe who placed them there, but the feeling is clear, each mark is intention. Nothing here is casual. The ledger teaches without voice. It teaches the rhythm of patience, that nothing is preserved by accident, that every treasure needs a room, every memory needs a place. It reminds you that in your own life, the rooms of memory are endless, some labelled clearly, some only half known, some sealed, others left open. You imagine your own ledger, pages filled with chapters of your days, symbols for moments only you could understand. Closing the book, you let your palm rest on the cover. It feels warmer than stone, as though it has absorbed centuries of touch. The ledger is more than record. It is invitation to enter each room with the same reverence with which it was written, to see not only objects, but the care that placed them here. You leave the lectern, the sound of your footsteps folding back into silence. The ledger remains behind, yet it stays with you, its order shaping the way you see. The vault does not scatter you. It gathers you. It tells you, here, everything has its place. The corridor widens, and shelves rise around you, higher than your eyes can follow. Wood dark as midnight, carved into lattices that cradle scrolls, codices, loose folios, tied with faded ribbons. The air is not musty, it is alive. Each breath carries the delicate fragrance of parchment and ink, faint sweetness of vellum, the dry murmur of centuries pressed together. You pause before the first shelf. A roll of parchment leans outward as if eager to be seen. Its seal is cracked, its edges curled like old leaves. You reach with your gaze, not your hand, and imagine unrolling it. Maps drawn in ochre and blue, rivers bending across forgotten borders, mountains marked with lines like ribs of the earth. You can almost hear the scratch of quills, the mutter of scribes, the patience of ink drying in candlelight. Breath leaves your lips, and the parchment seems to breathe back. Dust shifts in the beam of a lantern. The shelves creak faintly, not with strain, but with the sigh of wood holding memory. Each scroll is a rib of time, each codex a chamber of breath that never faded. You notice margins filled with notes, small, slanted words pressed between lines of scripture, sketches of symbols beside passages, not corrections, conversations. The scribes spoke to the text as they copied it, leaving traces of their own wonder, their doubts, their prayers. You feel them here, not gone but present, voices woven into the parchment itself. The longer you stand, the more the shelves seem to inhale and exhale with you. You begin to feel as though you too are parchment, your own breath part of the same rhythm. Inhale, and you take in centuries of devotion. Exhale, and you give back a fragment of your presence to be stored among theirs. One codex catches your eye, its cover deep crimson, corners reinforced with brass, a strap of leather buckled tight. It rests, not hidden, but not flaunted, as though waiting quietly. You do not touch, yet you sense its weight, the stories it holds, the prayers that pass through its pages, the hands that turn them with reverence. You imagine monks in winter cloisters, bending over it, lips moving soundlessly, finding warmth not from fire, but from the glow of meaning. Breath is the common thread. The scribes breathed as they wrote. The parchment breathed as it stretched and dried. The ink breathed as it set. And now you breathe as you witness. It is as though the entire room is lungs, inhaling, exhaling, sustaining life that never ended. You close your eyes, and in the darkness you feel pages turning not outside you but within. Words you cannot yet read rise like mist, shaping themselves into calm. You realize you do not need to understand each letter. The language of parchment is deeper than words. It is the language of patience, of presence, of devotion, etched not in sound but in silence. When you open your eyes again, the shelves remain still, yet you feel changed, as though you too are written, part of this vast manuscript that began long before you and will continue long after. You move on, the breath of parchment following you like a hymn. The chamber shifts. The shelves give way to tables, long and heavy, their surfaces covered in rolls of parchment wider than your arms could span. Maps. Not the kind you've seen in classrooms or books, but maps that seem alive, humming faintly with possibility. One lies half open, its edges weighted by smooth stones. You lean closer, ink lines stretch like rivers of night, curling into coasts and bays. But here and there, gaps remain unfinished borders, oceans left blank, mountains sketched only in outline. It is a map that almost was, a world half dreamed. Your eyes travel to another. The ink is darker, more deliberate. Cities marked with tiny towers, rivers shaded in delicate blue, forests painted with small strokes of green. Yet beside it rests a note in faded Latin, terra incognita, unknown land. A confession written by hands that traced certainty, but could not ignore mystery. You begin to see the pattern. Each map is both knowledge and humility. Bold lines marking what was known, open spaces honouring what was not. They remind you that certainty is always partial, that every claim of fullness still leaves room for wonder. The scribes knew this, and so they left margins wide, oceans vast, inviting discovery. A corner of one map bears a stain, dark, circular, as though a candle once dripped wax across it. You imagine a late night, a weary cartographer pausing, his hand slipping, a drop falling. That accident now part of history, sealing the moment forever, imperfection turned relic. Another map shows lines that no longer exist, borders erased, kingdoms dissolved. To the eyes of the present, they are wrong. Yet wrongness becomes beauty here, for it reveals the flow of time. Maps that once commanded armies now rest silent, teaching you that power too is temporary, as fragile as ink. You run your gaze across the words scrawled in margins, notes of voyages, rumours of lands beyond the sea, whispers of rivers that might connect oceans. Some were true, some not. Yet all carried the courage of belief. These cartographers did not only record they dreamed, they let imagination shape coastline, let rumour become contour. And though some dreams proved false, the courage to dream itself became a kind of treasure. The maps teach you more than geography. They teach you presence, that every moment of your life, like every line of ink, is both a claim and a mystery. That what you know today may shift tomorrow, and that this is not failure but beauty. The vault holds not finished worlds but evolving ones, and you realize you too are a map still being drawn. You close your eyes and imagine yourself spread across parchment, lines of rivers for your emotions, mountains for your challenges, valleys for your rest. Some parts clearly inked, others blank, waiting. You are your own cartographer, and your life too is a map that almost is forever unfolding. You open your eyes, and the room waits, filled with maps that remind you the unknown is not emptiness, it is invitation. The table waits in shadow, low candles set at its edges, their flames leaning gently as though reading with you. Resting across the surface are bundles of parchment, tied with ribbon, wax cracked at the corners, the faint mark of rings pressed long ago. Letters, not copies, not drafts, but originals. They lie quietly, yet the air around them hums as if each word once sent ripples through kingdoms. You lean closer to the nearest bundle. The ribbon has faded to the pale colour of ash, its knot stiff with age. The letter beneath shows its fibres, thick and uneven, made by hands that ground pulp and pressed sheets, in a time when paper itself was precious. The ink has faded, yet it still clings stubbornly, black lines curving into Latin sentences. Some are long and ceremonial, their formality like armour. Others are short, urgent, written with haste, perhaps dictated in candlelight before dawn broke on a decisive day. One letter carries the seal of a crown. Its wax is cracked, but the crest remains visible. A lion raised on hind legs, claws sharp, mane wild. The words beneath speak of treaties, of alliances meant to bind kingdoms. But between the lines, you sense another voice. The fear of losing power, the weight of keeping subjects loyal, the desire to appear strong even when borders trembled. The crown bent, not by war, but by words. Another letter, more delicate, bears the mark of a signet ring pressed with the papal seal. The words inside are softer, pleading, a negotiation between faith and survival. The ink curves gently, almost like a prayer in itself, as if the writer hoped reverence might soften the demands of politics. You feel the tremor of the pen, the human hand behind the symbol. A crown once rested heavy on a head, but the letter shows the true burden rested in the heart. You read without reading, letting the letters wash over you like tides. They carry the rhythm of voices that lived centuries ago, men and women who ruled nations yet confessed their uncertainties here. Some asked for forgiveness, some demanded obedience, some sought peace, others plotted war, but all carried the same weight, the knowledge that their words, once sealed and sent, could tilt the balance of history. You imagine a messenger on horseback, letters bound in leather at his side, riding through storms, through valleys, through forests, where only the moon kept witness. Each gallop carried not just parchment, but kingdoms, not just ink, but futures. By the time the letters reached their hands, decisions were already half made, because words travel faster than armies when they carry belief. The letters remain now, silent, resting in this vault. Their urgency has faded into calm. Their demands have softened into history. Yet, as you stand before them, you feel their power still alive, not to command nations, but to remind you of the force your own words carry. What you speak, what you write, what you seal in trust, all bend the crowns of your own life. You close your eyes and picture your own unwritten letters. Words of forgiveness never sent, gratitude never spoken, confessions held quiet. They bend you even now, waiting for release. The vault whispers, "Send them, even if only in thought. Let your silence breathe into words. Let your words bend the crowns of your own doubts. You open your eyes again. The letters remain still, but their lesson lingers. Words do not fade. They only wait. On a small pedestal, almost hidden by shadow, rests a cup. Not golden, like the treasures sung of in legend, not dripping with jewels or fire. It is simple. Silver, dulled by years, a rim dented in one spot, as though pressed too hard by a thumb long ago. Yet, in its quietness, it glows more surely than gold. You step closer, and the chalice greets you not with radiance but with calm. Its surface catches the candlelight gently, not showing itself but reflecting what surrounds it. You see your own faint image bent in the curve, blurred, softened. The chalice does not boast, it receives. The pedestal bears no inscription, no plaque naming its origin. Perhaps it touched the lips of saints. Perhaps it rested on an altar hidden from invading armies. Perhaps it passed through hands trembling with fear or trembling with joy. The details are lost, yet the presence remains. This is the truth of objects that matter. They do not need stories to shine. They carry their story within their stillness. You imagine the moment of its dent. A procession perhaps, or a hurried escape through a hidden passage. A hand clutched it too tightly, and the metal yielded. That imperfection became permanent, turning flaw into fingerprint. Now, centuries later, the dent is what makes it whole. You lean closer, and almost hear the echo of liquid poured into it. Water, wine, oil. The sound ripples through the chamber, though only in memory. It is the sound of sharing, of offering, of holding what is too precious to touch directly. The chalice teaches you that to contain is not to own, but to serve. You close your eyes, and for a moment you feel as though your own heart is a chalice. It too has dents, scratches, places where it yielded under weight. Yet like this vessel, its strength lies not in being flawless, but in being used carrying moments, carrying people, carrying love. The chalice stands in silence, but in that silence it speaks that what has been touched, what has been held, what has been used with reverence becomes holy, not because of gold, but because of care. When you step away, the chalice remains, steady, waiting for the next set of eyes, the next quiet breath. It does not need to move. It knows stillness is enough. In a small glass case, resting on velvet the colour of midnight, lies a ring, thick, golden, wide enough to weigh down any hand that dared to wear it. Its face is engraved with a crest keys crossed, crown above, rays spreading outward like a Sunday time has softened its shine, yet even dulled, it radiates weight. You draw near, and the air thickens, as though acknowledging the ring's presence. This is no ornament. This is burden cast in metal. Whoever slipped this circle onto their finger carried not just a jewel, but the weight of countless souls, decisions, prayers, conflicts. The ring does not sparkle. It anchors. You picture the hand that once bore it. Fingers lined with ink stains from documents signed, trembling at times from age or from choice. The ring pressing into skin, leaving marks that lingered even after it was removed. Power, worn daily, becomes more than symbol. It becomes part of the body itself. The engraving catches your eye. The crossed keys do not simply adorn, they command. They remind of gates opened and gates closed, of authority to bind and release. The rays stretching outward are not decoration but responsibility. Light meant to fall on every corner of the faithful. The crown above is not prize but pressure. Together they form a language of weight, each symbol layering meaning upon meaning. Yet as you watch, you notice something more. Along the inner band of the ring, almost hidden from sight, is a small scratch. Not engraving, not design. Just a line where the gold once met resistance. Perhaps against stone, perhaps against another ring, perhaps from a hand that struck a table in frustration. That line is more human than all the symbols combined. It whispers that even those who hold power still carry weakness, still stumble, still live. The ring is heavy, even here, behind glass. You do not need to touch it to feel its pull. It reminds you of the rings you carry in your own life, commitments, roles, responsibilities that circle your heart like bands of metal. Some days they feel like symbols of love. Other days they press like burdens. Both are true. Both shape you. You breathe deeply, and in that breath, you release the illusion that heaviness must always harm. The ring shows you that weight can also ground, can also steady, can also remind you of what matters. To carry is not always to be crushed. Sometimes it is to be anchored. You step back, leaving the ring to its velvet rest. It no longer gleams as it once did, but perhaps that is its final gift, to show that even when shine fades, meaning remains. The chamber narrows to a single alcove, its walls pressed close, as though the stone itself wished to guard what rests inside. A pedestal stands at the centre, plain wood worn smooth by centuries of air brushing across it. Upon it rests a small bundle, not golden, not jewelled, just cloth. Linen folded many times, its fibres yellowed with age, corners frayed to threads. You step closer. The linen carries no mark, no embroidery, no announcement of its worth. Yet the air around it shifts, thickens, becomes hushed, as if sound itself knows to bow. It is only cloth, and yet not only. Wrapped inside is weight, not of gold or gem, but of story. The folds speak softly. You imagine the hands that first touched this linen. Rough, calloused, perhaps trembling. They did not wrap casually. Each turn of fabric was deliberate, each knot tied with reverence. The cloth became more than covering, it became protection, devotion, prayer. What lies inside could be bone, fragment of wood, a shard of pottery kissed by history. The vault does not say, the cloth refuses to tell. Its silence is its guard. You lean closer, and the scent reaches you faint, like pressed herbs, like air sealed too long. It is the scent of care. The relic may be hidden, but the devotion of those who wrapped it still lingers, woven into every fibre. Linen remembers touch. You can almost feel the warmth of hands that once pressed it smooth. You imagine the journeys this bundle endured, carried under cloaks through storms, passed hand to hand in candlelit catacombs, hidden in baskets during raids, laid gently upon altars where whispers rose around it. The linen has never been alone. It has always been companioned by reverence. You close your eyes. The image forms within you, not what the relic is, but what it does. It gathers faith. It draws silence. It creates space where the heart softens. You realize that it does not matter what lies inside. The act of wrapping, of keeping safe, of holding sacred that is the treasure. Your own life too has its relics, memories wrapped away, hidden, protected, not because they are glamorous, but because they are tender. You remember them, folded carefully in the chambers of your heart, never shown, yet never forgotten. This bundle reminds you, what is hidden can still shape you. What is wrapped away can still shine. You step back slowly. The relic does not reveal itself, but it does not need to. Its gift has already been given the lesson that reverence is not in exposure, but in care. At the far end of the hall, a chest rests upon a low platform, not ornate, not gilded. Wooden planks bound by iron bands, lock rusted but open. The lid sits ajar, just enough to invite a glimpse. Inside lie sheets, countless, stacked neatly in order. Not maps, not scripture, not treatise lists. Names, written line by line, letter by letter, as though each stroke were a prayer. You lean over the box, and the names stretch before you in careful Latin script. Some familiar names of saints sung in hymns, others obscure, forgotten outside these walls, yet preserved here with equal reverence. The ink has faded unevenly, some entries still strong, others nearly vanished. ghostly whispers of letters. But each remains. You imagine the scribe who sat for hours, for days, for years, copying these names. He did not rush. He knew each line was more than record. Each was remembrance. Perhaps he whispered as he wrote, letting the sound of the name rise into the silence. Perhaps he paused when the ink bled, wiping gently, not wishing to mar what was sacred. The names are more than people. They are lanterns. Each name once held breath, laughter, sorrow, hope. Each name once bent to tie a sandal, once looked at the moon, once dreamed dreams that now rest folded in silence. And here, in this box, they still live. Not as bodies, not as voices, but as presence. You touch the air above the parchment, not the parchment itself, and feel their weight. 1,000 lives condensed into ink, 1,000 stories distilled into single words. The vault does not separate them into great and small, king and peasant. It holds them equally. A reminder that the measure of a name is not fame, but existence. Your own name rises in your thoughts. How it has been spoken, mispronounced, whispered in love, shouted in anger, written on documents, carved into memory. You feel its weight now, not as label but as lantern. Your name too is a vessel of presence, a story folded into sound. You close your eyes. The box of names becomes a river, each flowing into the next. You are part of it, one name among thousands, equal, luminous. The vault whispers, you are not alone. Your name, like theirs, is preserved in silence, written in the greater ledger of time. You step back from the chest. The lid rests where it was, the lists undisturbed. Yet the presence lingers. Names do not fade. They continue to shine, even when unseen. The chamber you enter is dimmer than the rest. Only a single flame burns at the far wall, and it seems not to illuminate but to pulse, like a heart keeping rhythm. A desk rests beneath it, cluttered with small jars, quills hardened with ink, scraps of parchment spotted black. This is not a room of finished books. It is a room of beginnings. You approach the desk and see the jars. Some still carry residue, thick pools of dried ink, deep blue, faint red, heavy black. Pigments ground from minerals, mixed with oil, with egg, with water drawn from sacred wells. Recipes scribbled on scraps, edges curled. Instructions for making colours that would outlast kingdoms. On one parchment, a formula for blue. Lapis lazuli ground fine, mixed with honey, strained through linen, stirred with prayer. On another, instructions for red. Cinnabar dust, sealed in oil, heated gently until it glows. Each recipe is more than chemistry. Each is devotion. The scribes did not merely prepare ink, they invoked it. You imagine the nights they worked here. Cloaks pulled tight against chill, fingers stained dark, lips moving silently as they mixed. The only sound, the scrape of pestle against stone, the trickle of liquid into jars, the scratch of quill testing the mixture on parchment. Ink was not tool, it was prayer made liquid. You lean closer to a parchment smeared with testing lines. The strokes vary thin, thick, curved, broken. Each a breath, each a heartbeat. Some letters stand alone, an A, a cross, a circle, as though the scribe paused mid-thought, letting the ink guide the hand instead of the hand guiding the ink. The darkness around you deepens, and for a moment you feel yourself as the scribe. You dip quill into jar, watch the drop cling, lift, tremble, then fall. You press to parchment. The letter appears, simple, black, yet alive. You realize the truth. Ink is not just colour, it is time captured. Once it dries, the moment remains forever. Your own life too carries its inks. Words you've spoken cannot be erased, only read again. Choices made leave marks, some bold, some faint, all permanent. Yet permanence does not mean prison. Like ink, your marks become part of the greater manuscript, woven into meaning you may not yet see. You close your eyes. The room becomes silent except for the pulse of the flame. You feel words forming inside you, not to be spoken now, not to be written yet, but waiting. Your life is still ink in the dark, waiting for your hand, your breath, your choice. You open your eyes again. The desk remains cluttered, the jars empty, the recipes faded. Yet the truth shines. Creation begins not in light, but in dark. Ink waits in shadow before it becomes word. You step back, leaving the room in its hush. The flame flickers once more, steady, eternal. Ink waits, and so do you. The passage narrows until it feels as though stone presses inward, funneling you towards something unseen. Your steps slow, not from caution, but because the air itself suggests reverence. You pass beneath a low arch and emerge into a circular chamber. At first, it seems empty. No shelves, no pedestals, no gold. Only stillness. The silence here is unlike silence elsewhere. It is not absence of sound, but presence of quiet. You sense it at once, as though the air is alive, heavy, deliberate. Every movement you make your breath, the soft shuffle of your feet, feels magnified, echoed, then absorbed. The room swallows noise, not hungrily, but tenderly, as if cradling each sound until it dissolves into stillness. At the centre of the chamber stands a single chair, carved from stone, its back high, its surface worn smooth. No one sits there now, but the where tells you many have. Leaders, scribes, seekers. They came not to speak but to listen. The chair is not throne but vessel, a place to set down the weight of voice and enter into hearing. You move slowly around the room, letting the silence sink into your body. The walls are bare stone, but patterns emerge the longer you look. Marks where hands pressed, lines where robes brushed, faint grooves where candles once stood. The room remembers, even if it shows nothing. You sit in the chair, and instantly the silence deepens. It is not oppressive, it is expansive, stretching outward, folding around you like vast wings. Your mind slows. Thoughts soften at their edges. You notice the rhythm of your breath, the pulse in your wrist, the faint hum behind your ears. In the stillness, you begin to hear yourself more clearly than ever before. You imagine all those who sat here before you, centuries of figures carrying questions, fears, hopes. Each came, expecting answers from books, relics, or voices beyond. Yet what they found was this: silence itself as teacher. For in silence, truths rise unforced. In silence, burdens lift without explanation. In silence, you remember what words often cover. Your eyes drift closed. Images rise unbidden, a candle flickering, a hand reaching, a tear sliding down a face not your own. They pass gently, like leaves floating down a river. The silence holds them, then releases them. You feel lighter with each image, as though the room itself takes your heaviness and dissolves it into stillness. When you open your eyes, nothing has changed. The chair, the stone, the quiet remain. Yet you know you are not the same. You realize the treasure of this chamber is not object, but practice. To sit, to breathe, to be held by silence until you remember that within you too lies a chamber vast and still. You rise, bow your head, and step away. The room of silence does not call you back. It does not cling. It waits, patient, eternal, knowing you will return when you need its gift again. You follow another corridor, torches dim and wavering. The air shifts, carrying a scent of leather, faint smoke, and ink. Ahead, a wide table sits beneath a slanted shaft of light that seems to come from nowhere. Upon it lies a book, thick, bound in hide, corners darkened by countless hands. You approach and see the parchment inside, edges curled, words flowing in Latin script. The letters are steady, ornate, written by a scribe who poured both discipline and devotion into every line. Yet when you turn a page, you stop. For here, where words should be, there is emptiness. A missing page, torn cleanly, not by accident, but by intention. The absence strikes more strongly than presence. The ragged edge shows where fibers were pulled, where hands removed what once lived here. You run your gaze across the blank space, and the silence deepens. You do not know what was written. A prayer, a confession, a story meant to vanish. Whatever it was, it is gone, and in its place lies emptiness more powerful than ink. You linger, and soon you feel the page still speaks, not with words, but with invitation. It invites you to imagine, to fill the void with your own meaning. You picture monks leaning over the book, one removing the page, another closing it again, their eyes heavy with decision. Was it protection, censorship, mercy, perhaps all at once? The missing page carries mystery that even ink could not hold. You close your eyes. Images rise. A sentence you once left unsaid. A truth you never shared. A story you began but did not finish. The missing page mirrors these moments. It tells you absence has power. That silence shapes as surely as sound. That what is withheld creates space for what might yet come. You open your eyes again and breathe. The missing page rests quietly, not ashamed of its absence, not longing to be whole. It teaches you that incompleteness is not failure. Sometimes the gaps, the torn spaces, the unwritten lines hold the greatest possibility. You step away from the book, leaving the blank page to its eternal waiting. Its lesson follows. Treasure is not always in what remains, but sometimes in what is lost. You step into a narrow chamber, where shelves line the walls, stacked with objects small but weighty, lanterns of iron and brass, locks of bronze and silver, keys tied with ribbon, each resting in quiet rows. This is a room of thresholds, guardians of light and guardians of secrecy. The lanterns catch your eye first. Some are plain, dented from use, their glass smoky from old flame. Others are ornate, filigreed with stars, crosses, vines. You imagine them lit in catacombs, their glow guiding footsteps through passages dark and uncertain, flame dancing behind glass, shadows leaning against walls. These lanterns did not decorate, they saved. Without them, paths would vanish into black. Beside them lie locks, heavy, rust-darkened, shapes intricate as puzzles. Each once fastened a chest, a door, a reliquary. Their weight is felt even now. Some are simple, meant only to hold. Others are elaborate, riddled with tumblers, secrets within secrets. They remind you that protection itself is a kind of treasure. What is precious must be guarded, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Keys hang nearby, their forms varied, long shafts, teeth sharp or rounded, bows shaped like circles or crosses. Each key once fit only one lock, a silent companion waiting for its partner. You picture the moment of turning the click, the sigh, the slow yielding of iron. That sound was more than mechanism. It was trust made tangible. You take in the room as a whole, lanterns, locks, keys. Together they form a language, light to guide, locks to guard, keys to release. The vault whispers that your own life holds the same. You carry lanterns, moments of clarity, insights that light your path. You carry locks, secrets, memories, dreams hidden from view. And you carry keys, choices, words, acts of courage that open what has long been closed. You close your eyes. You see a lantern glowing in your chest, a lock guarding your heart, a key resting in your hand. You realize you already hold what you need to move forward, light to see, protection to preserve, and the key to release when the time is right. You open your eyes again. The chamber remains, shelves heavy with iron and brass, yet you feel lighter. The lanterns do not burn now, but their lesson glows within you. Locks no longer bar you. They remind you of value. Keys wait, silent, but patient. You step from the room, carrying with you the truth that every threshold has its guardian, and you are both keeper and seeker, bearer of lantern, lock, and key. The hallway narrows, stone pressing close, before suddenly opening into a room where light bends strangely. At first you think the walls glisten with damp, but then you realize they shine. Mirrors line the chamber, tall panels of silvered glass mounted in frames of carved wood, some cracked, some perfect, all catching the faint glow of candles and multiplying it into endless reflections. You step inside, and immediately the air shifts. Every movement of yours is echoed, not once, but dozens of times. A tilt of your head ripples outward. A hand raised appears in countless echoes. The chamber does not show you only once. It surrounds you with yourself, reminding you that truth is never singular. The mirrors vary in age. Some are smooth, their glass still clear, showing you as you are. Others are darkened, their surfaces fogged, distorting your outline. One mirror curves inward, stretching your reflection into unfamiliar shapes. Another is cracked through the center, the break dividing you into two selves, both whole, both broken. You walk slowly, letting your eyes wander across each face. You see yourself multiplied, refracted, stretched, diminished, magnified. And with each view, you realize something. The mirrors are not lying. They are simply offering perspectives. Each version of you carries truth, even if incomplete. You pause before a mirror framed in gold. The glass is clouded, yet faintly you see not only your own form but the suggestion of others, shadows of those who once stood here, their reflections still imprinted like ghosts upon the silver. This chamber has held centuries of visitors, each confronted by their own multiplicity. The mirrors remember. A quiet thought rises within you. The treasures of this vault are not only objects, but revelations. The chamber teaches that identity itself is a treasure, yet it is not fixed. Like light bending in glass, you shift, you grow, you contain more than one face. The vault reflects you back to yourself, so you may see beyond certainty. You close your eyes. Even without sight, you feel the reflections remain. 1,000 versions of you ripple outward in silence, some younger, some older, some confident, some uncertain, all real, all you. When you open your eyes, the mirrors wait patiently. They do not judge, they do not demand, they simply show, and you learn their quiet lesson. Treasure lies not in being one thing forever, but in recognizing the many selves you contain. You bow your head slightly and step toward the exit. The mirrors catch your image one last time, multiplying it until it dissolves into shadow. Then the chamber releases you, leaving its echoes behind, but carrying its truth within you. The corridor slopes downward, cool stone underfoot, until it opens into a chamber smaller than the rest. At its center rests a display so modest you almost overlook it. A shard of glass, no larger than your palm, set upon a cushion of faded velvet. The shard is irregular, edges jagged, its surface clouded with scratches. It glimmers faintly under candlelight, catching sparks of brightness and scattering them in uneven patterns. You step closer, drawn not by grandeur but by humility. This shard is not jewel, not relic of kings, not holy vessel. It is brokenness preserved. The placard beneath, written in Latin, gives only a single word: peregrinus pilgrim. You imagine the journey it once belonged to, a pilgrim, weary from days of travel, carrying a lantern to light the road. The lantern falls, shattered against stone, leaving this piece behind. Perhaps it was gathered in sorrow, perhaps in reverence, perhaps it was kept as reminder, even broken things carry light. You lift your eyes and let the shard speak. It whispers of miles walked in silence, prayers muttered through aching feet, nights spent under stars with nothing but hope for shelter. It tells you that journeys are rarely smooth. They leave fragments behind, yet those fragments shine all the same. You lean closer and see within the shard faint colours, greens and blues, remnants of stained glass that once told stories in light. Perhaps it came from a chapel window shattered during war, carried by a pilgrim who refused to let the image die. What survives is not the full picture, but a fragment that still holds beauty. You feel your own life reflected in it. The times you have carried fragments instead of wholes, broken pieces of dreams, memories sharp at the edges. And you realize, the shard teaches you that fragments are still sacred. That light does not need perfection to pass through, that what is broken can still illuminate. You close your eyes. The shard gleams in darkness behind your lids, scattering light across the chambers of your heart. You feel it healing places you thought too jagged, reminding you that even sharp edges can refract grace. When you open your eyes, the shard rests quietly where it has always been, waiting for the next pilgrim to arrive. You bow your head and step back, carrying its light within you. Beyond the shard's chamber lies a heavy door, unlocked but firm, opening into a small study-like space. A desk waits, its surface bare except for one parchment laid neatly at the centre. The parchment is yellowed, edges curled, ink faded but legible. Across the top, bold letters proclaim authority, an edict prepared for release. But at the bottom, the space for signature remains empty, the seal unpressed, the document unsent. You stand before it, and the air feels tense, as though the words themselves still hold breath, waiting for a command that never came. You read the lines. They're Latin, careful, stern. Commands written to shape lives, alter paths, decide fates. Yet, they were never delivered. The edict became not law, but silence. You imagine the moment it was written. A scribe bending over the desk, copying words dictated by a powerful voice. The ink fresh, the intention heavy. At the time, the room must have thrummed with urgency. Yet for some reason, unknown to you, the edict was never sealed. Perhaps mercy intervened. Perhaps politics shifted. Perhaps doubt rose at the final moment. Whatever the reason, the parchment rests here, its commands powerless, its authority dissolved. The room hums with that possibility. You realize that what did not happen is as powerful as what did. That absence too can shape history. Lives were spared, wars avoided. Paths shifted because ink remained only ink, never decree. You close your eyes and reflect on your own life. You remember words you almost spoke, letters you almost sent, decisions you almost carried through. Some would have wounded, others would have changed everything. Yet silence prevailed. Like this edict, your unsent words shaped your path. What is withheld can be as decisive as what is done. You lean closer, reading the lines again. They seem strong, forceful, yet without seal, they are harmless. They have transformed from threat into lesson. That restraint is a kind of treasure, that choosing not to act can be as powerful as action. You breathe deeply, letting this truth settle. You realize that in your own vault, you carry many unsent edicts, choices never made, paths never taken. And you see now they are not failures, they are protections, they are treasures of silence. You step back slowly, leaving the parchment untouched. The unsent edict rests quietly, its power neutralized, its presence eternal. A reminder that sometimes the greatest gift is not in what is spoken, but in what remains unspoken. The chamber opens gently, its ceiling lower than others, the air warmer, carrying the faint scent of leather. At the far end rests a wooden case, its lid carved with lines that resemble waves. Brass hinges dull with time hold it shut, yet the lock lies open, as though waiting for you. You approach slowly, and with the softest push, the case yields. Inside are maps, folded tightly, edges frayed from journeys long past. Some rolls are bound with faded ribbons, others lie loose, their corners curled. As you lift the first, a small puff of dust escapes, carrying with it the memory of distant winds. The parchment, though fragile, still holds colour blues for seas, greens for valleys, ochres for mountains. Across each surface, lines stretch like veins, the pathways of lives that once risked everything to follow them. You spread one map gently across the table. The ink marks not only land but sea, dotted with small symbols, ships, storms, stars. Marginal notes whisper in the scribe's hand, warnings of currents, the promise of a harbour, the uncertainty of unknown shores. You imagine the traveller who once carried this folded map in a leather satchel, pulling it out by candlelight in the belly of a ship. The map was more than parchment, it was hope. Another map reveals stars drawn in arcs, constellations guiding sailors when the sea erased all other signs. The stars are drawn with delicate precision, yet one constellation trails off into blank space unfinished. Was it error, or was it humility, the honest confession that the sky still holds mysteries no hand can capture? You lean closer, tracing with your eyes the routes that twist across oceans. Some end abruptly, lines cut short, as though the traveller never finished. Others loop back upon themselves, paths repeated, journeys retraced. Each fold in the parchment is a crease of history, carrying with it the weight of decisions made, storms survived, and shores found or lost. The case hums with energy. You sense that these maps are not simply artifacts, they are living companions, carrying forward the intentions of those who trusted them. Each inked line is a step taken. Each margin note is a whispered prayer. Each fold is a heartbeat of courage. You close your eyes, and suddenly you feel yourself holding your own map, not drawn with ink, but with choices. The paths you've taken, the seas you've crossed, the storms endured. Some routes ended quickly, some stretched long. Some brought you home, others carried you further than you expected. Like the travellers of these maps, you too move across an uncertain world, guided by stars and whispers, carrying faith that the shore lies ahead. You open your eyes again. The maps remain still, silent, but the lesson burns steady. Life itself is a map case. The lines are drawn as you live them. The journeys are folded and unfolded again and again, and the destination is never the only treasure. The journey itself, the courage to carry the map, to follow the stars, to face the sea that is the true gift. You fold the map back with care, place it in the case, and close the lid gently. The brass hinges sigh as if grateful. The case remains, but you leave carrying your own invisible map, marked by stars that no vault could ever contain. The next chamber is narrow, its walls lined with shelves that glisten faintly. You step closer and see them, seals, hundreds of them, each resting in its own small compartment. Wax discs, pressed with rings, medallions, stamps of authority. Some are red, others black, some crumbling, others gleaming, as though just pressed yesterday. Together they form a cabinet of power, silent yet immense. You lift your eyes along the rows. Each seal bears a mark, a crest, a crown, a pair of keys, a star, a cross, a symbol of lineage or office. Some are small and humble, no larger than a fingertip. Others spread wide, heavy, carved with details so fine you can see the grooves where the ring cut deep into the wax. Each one closed a letter, a decree, a secret. Each one held authority until it was broken. The air in the chamber is thick with a strange reverence. These seals once commanded armies, declared wars, proclaimed peace. They once silenced voices or set them free. They were the quiet guardians of words, making parchment as powerful as swords. And yet now they sit here, powerless, resting side by side in silence. You imagine the hands that pressed them, a bishop leaning hard into wax, the heat of the candle softening it. A king's hand heavy with rings, pressing quickly before passing the decree to a messenger. A scribe watching, recording, ensuring the imprint was clear. Each press was more than ritual, it was covenant. A seal was not decoration, it was bond. You notice one seal cracked across its centre, once strong, now fractured. Perhaps it was broken by mistake, perhaps deliberately. Its symbol remains, though incomplete. And in that brokenness, it whispers that even power is fragile. Even authority, pressed deep into wax, can split with time. Another seal gleams more brightly than the rest. Its red wax is vivid, edges sharp. You lean close and see the imprint, 2 hands clasping. A symbol of peace, an agreement sealed with intention. You wonder if that peace endured, or if it too was fractured by time. The seal cannot tell. It only carries the memory of a promise made. You close your eyes and reflect. You think of the seals in your own life. Not wax, but moments of commitment, promises spoken, bonds made. Some remain strong, others cracked. Each one has shaped you, guarded words, made choices carry weight. The cabinet whispers a truth. Power lies not in the seal itself, but in the trust behind it. Wax can break, metal can tarnish, but intention endures. The seal is symbol, not substance. The true bond is invisible, yet unbreakable if carried with care. You open your eyes and take one last look at the rows of seals, each one a silent witness. They no longer command, no longer bind, yet they remain treasures because they remind you what you promise matters. What you bind with intention shapes worlds, seen and unseen. You leave the chamber quietly, carrying the weight of your own invisible seals, the ones pressed into your life, unmarked yet eternal. The chamber beyond feels different, less like a vault, more like a study. A desk rests against the wall, its surface worn smooth by centuries of touch. Stacks of parchment lie upon it, their corners curled, ink faded. But what catches your eye are not the texts themselves. It is the margins. You lean closer. Alongside the main script, written carefully and formally, lie smaller notes, scribbles in slanted hands, quick strokes, tiny symbols. Marginalia, the fingerprints of the archivist who once cared for these texts. His hand does not command attention, yet it lingers like a whisper in the ear. In one corner, a single word, caveat beware. In another, a question mark, small but insistent. On another page, a tiny drawing, perhaps of a flower, perhaps of a star. The archivist was not only preserving, he was conversing. His hand met the text, argued, agreed, doubted, praised. The margins became a dialogue across centuries. You imagine him sitting here, quill in hand, candle guttering. The great script before him, too heavy to change, too sacred to alter. Yet, in the margins, his voice found space. There, he could speak freely. There, he could leave traces of his humanity. His hand reminds you that history is never only official, it is also personal, carried in side notes and small symbols. One page bears a smudge of ink, a line drawn, then hastily crossed out. You can almost see his frustration, his weariness, his desire to speak perfectly, yet his acceptance of imperfection. The smudge remains, a testament to his presence more real than the polished script. You close your eyes and think of your own margins. The notes you've left beside your life, not the main story, but the smaller sides. Laughter shared, doubts confessed, quick sketches of dreams. These too are treasures. They remind you that perfection is not the measure of value. The margin is where the soul breathes. When you open your eyes again, the parchments remain silent, but the archivist's hand lingers. You sense him here, centuries distant yet close, his small notes carrying across time. His voice did not fade, because it dared to be small. You step back and realize the treasure of this chamber is not the official record, but the hand that touched it, the voice that refused to vanish. You carry the lesson with you. Your side notes matter. Your quiet marks endure. What you leave in the margins may one day be the most human treasure you offer to the world. The chamber you enter is tall and narrow, ceiling lost in darkness, walls bare except for one object at the centre. A bell cast in bronze, wide at its mouth, narrowing into a crown where iron loops once held chains. It rests on stone, not hanging, its weight anchoring it firmly in silence. You approach slowly. The surface is mottled with green, where time has left its touch. In the dim light, you notice the absence. The bell has no tongue, no clapper to strike its sides. It cannot ring. It stands in stillness, a vessel of sound that never comes. You pause and listen. The silence feels thicker here, pressed against your ears. You almost imagine that if you leaned close, the bell would hum faintly, not in sound, but in presence, carrying echoes of all the notes it might have sung but never did. You wonder about its past. Perhaps it once hung in a tower, calling monks to prayer, warning villagers of fire or flood. Perhaps it was silenced deliberately, its tongue removed to preserve secrecy. Or perhaps it was cast but never used, a bell destined for voice but condemned to quiet. You place your palm gently on its side. The bronze is cool, steady, unmoving. Yet beneath your hand, you sense vibration not real, but imagined, the ghost of sound waiting to be freed. The bell is mute, yet not meaningless. It teaches that silence too has resonance. You close your eyes and imagine it ringing. The note is low, deep, rolling across valleys and rivers, carried on wind. The sound expands until it fills the night sky. Yet when you open your eyes, silence remains. The bell has not moved. The sound lived only in you. The lesson hums quietly. Not all voices need to be heard aloud. Some sounds live within. Some treasures are not in the ringing, but in the waiting. The bell without a tongue teaches you that silence is also music, and absence also presence. You step back. The bell remains in its stillness, but you leave carrying the sound it never made, a note resonating softly in your chest. The next chamber feels heavy, filled with the scent of old leather and iron. On a pedestal at its center rests a book, thick and wide, bound in dark hide. Iron clasps lock its covers shut, their teeth tight, rust gathered around their edges. It is a psalter, ancient songs of prayer and praise, but closed, sealed, unreadable. You move closer. The clasps glimmer faintly in the candlelight, their metal shaped into delicate curves, as though the locks themselves were part of the sacredness. The book does not invite touch. It sits firm, as though guarding itself. You wonder about the pages inside. Psalms copied by hand, illuminated with gold leaf, their margins bright with painted vines and flowers. Notes of song, perhaps, music for voices now long gone. Each page a prayer once lifted, now pressed silent between covers. The locked psalter teaches you something before it is ever opened. Sacredness does not always demand access. Some treasures are meant to remain hidden, not because they are selfish, but because they are whole in their secrecy. The prayers are not lost simply because they are closed. They are alive, sealed in silence, preserved in waiting. You close your eyes and imagine opening it anyway. You see the script, careful and fluid, each letter placed with devotion. You hear faint chants rising, monks lifting their voices in stone halls, their song curling upward like incense. Yet when you open your eyes, the clasps remain firm, the psalter sealed. You realize you are not meant to read it, only to honor its stillness. Your own life, too, carries locked psalters. Songs not yet sung, prayers not yet spoken, dreams not yet unfolded. They are not wasted. They wait, sealed in the silence of your heart, alive though unopened. You place your palm over the clasp and whisper your own quiet psalm. Not to break the lock, but to join the silence. The book does not open, but you feel heard. You step back, leaving the psalter closed. It remains locked, yet it has already spoken its truth. What is hidden can still be holy. The chamber beyond glows softly. Light filters through high windows of stained glass, though no sunlight reaches this deep. The glow seems to come from the reliquary itself, a glass vessel tall as your chest, framed in gilded bronze, standing upon 3 slender legs. Inside, wrapped in linen, rests something unseen, veiled, hidden. You circle the reliquary slowly. The glass is clear, yet the linen conceals the relic fully. You cannot see what it holds. Only the folds of fabric, white but faintly yellowed with age, give any clue. The vessel itself is beautiful bronze, carved with vines, glass curved like water frozen mid-flow. Yet all of this beauty only surrounds what is hidden. You pause, hands folded, and listen. The reliquary hums with presence. Not sound, but weight, a density in the air. Whatever rests inside has drawn centuries of reverence. Pilgrims once knelt here, whispers once filled the chamber, candles once burned low around it, and now it stands in stillness, guarding its mystery. You close your eyes and imagine the linen parting. Perhaps a bone of a saint, perhaps a shard of wood from a cross, perhaps something entirely unknown, too delicate to name. But the reliquary teaches you that not knowing is part of the treasure. Mystery itself is gift. The hidden draws reverence in ways the revealed never could. The glass reminds you of fragility, so clear, so strong, yet so breakable. The relic inside depends upon its guard, and so do you. Your own sacred things rest inside fragile vessels. Your body, your heart, your trust. Like the reliquary, they shine not because they are invincible, but because they are tender. You lean close, and for a moment you see your reflection in the glass. Your face overlays the linen inside, as though reminding you, you too are reliquary. You too carry treasures, unseen, veiled in flesh, held in silence, yet radiant with presence. You bow your head, allowing the reliquary to remain sealed. You need not know what it holds. Its lesson is enough. Mystery itself can be holy. You step away, and as you leave, you feel your own heart glowing faintly, a reliquary of light hidden deep within you. The chamber ahead feels heavier than the others, though no object greets you at first glance. You walk slowly, the stone beneath your feet cool and uneven, until your eyes catch it on a pedestal near the wall. A crown, bent and broken, rests under glass. It is not the golden, radiant circle you might expect. Instead, it is cracked, twisted, one side caved inward as if struck by great force. Jewels once bright are missing from their settings. Only a few remain, dull with dust, holding faint glimmers of colour. The metal shows dents, scratches, evidence of hands that pulled or tore. It is a crown, yet no longer whole. You step closer and sense the weight it carries. Once it may have rested upon the head of a ruler, gleaming in torchlight, commanding obedience. Now it rests in silence, powerless, yet more truthful than before. The broken crown speaks louder than a perfect one ever could. You imagine the day it was worn, processions moving through crowded streets, voices raised, banners flying. The crown shone brightly then, symbol of authority. But symbols are fragile, power bends, authority fractures. Crowns can be broken. You press your palm lightly against the glass, not to claim it, but to understand. In its ruined state, the crown teaches humility. It reminds you that no symbol is eternal, no rule unshakable, no triumph beyond time. What bends can also heal, what breaks can also transform. You close your eyes and see crowns of your own life, roles you have carried, titles you have worn, expectations that weighed heavy on your brow. Some of them glittered once, but time dented them. Others broke entirely, leaving only fragments. And yet, like this crown, they remain part of your story, precious not for their perfection, but for their honesty. You breathe deeply and imagine the crown mended, not restored to its original shine, but reshaped. Cracks filled with light instead of gold, a crown that wears its scars openly, teaching that brokenness itself can be a form of radiance. When you open your eyes, the crown remains as it is, twisted, incomplete. Yet you no longer see ruin, you see testimony. You step away knowing its message is yours. What breaks is not the end. It is another kind of beginning. The next chamber is smaller, walls lined with shelves that rise no higher than your chest. On one of the shelves rests an inkstone, shallow and rectangular, its surface darkened by centuries of pigment ground into its grooves. Beside it sits a small brush, its bristles stiff with age. The inkstone is unassuming, almost plain, yet the air around it vibrates with quiet energy. You kneel to see it more closely. The stone shows ridges, worn smooth by countless circles of motion pigments, mixed with water, pressed into liquid black. Each groove is memory, each smooth line evidence of devotion. It is not the writing you see here, but the preparation for writing. You imagine the hands that once held the brush, dipping it into the ink prepared upon this stone. Words flowed afterward, prayers, decrees, letters of love, perhaps even warnings carried across kingdoms. Every word that lived first passed through this stone. It is the unseen beginning of countless voices. You place your fingertips lightly on its edge. The stone is cool, yet steady, as though it has absorbed the patience of those who once leaned over it. You almost feel the circles traced across its surface, hear the faint rasp of pigment ground under steady pressure. This was ritual, not merely tool. Preparing ink was prayer before the prayer. The hidden inkstone teaches you that beginnings often remain unseen. The finished letter, the proclaimed decree, the preserved manuscript, all are remembered. But the quiet preparation, the patient grinding, the unnoticed circles, these are forgotten. Yet without them, no word could live. You think of your own unseen beginnings, the practices you keep in silence, the choices that seem small, the preparation that no one notices. These too are sacred inkstones. They shape the words, the actions, the stories that follow. You close your eyes and imagine grinding your own ink, circling gently, letting pigment dissolve into water. The rhythm is steady, soothing, patient. You realize that the inkstone is a metaphor for your own heart. It is there that you prepare the essence from which words flow. If the heart is steady, the ink is steady. If the heart is restless, the ink runs thin. When you open your eyes, the inkstone remains, silent and still. Yet you know it carries centuries of beginnings. You rise slowly, honoring its lesson. What is hidden prepares the visible. What is quiet sustains the loud. What is overlooked holds the true weight of creation. The corridor beyond leads to a small alcove, almost bare. Upon a single block of marble lies an object, simple yet arresting. A key, iron forged, thick at the stem, teeth long and jagged. It rests on velvet, untouched, though the air around it feels heavy. You step near and notice the strangeness. There is no lock, no chest, no door anywhere in the chamber, only the key. It lies in waiting, yet has nothing to open. You lift your gaze to the ceiling, then the walls, half expecting a hidden panel or secret door. None appear. The vault has placed the key here alone, without explanation. And in its solitude, the key becomes a riddle. You stare at its teeth, their shape unusual, not matching any common lock. Perhaps the door it was forged for no longer exists. Perhaps it was lost, destroyed, or hidden. Perhaps the key itself is all that remains. You bend closer, letting your eyes trace its grooves. The iron shows signs of use, worn smooth in places, darker in others. It has opened something, once. It has turned in locks, shifted bolts, released barriers, yet now it lies powerless, a symbol without function. And still, you feel its weight. Even without a door, it carries presence. It whispers that sometimes the treasure is not what is opened, but the readiness to open. The key is potential embodied, possibility in metal form. You close your eyes and think of keys you hold in your own life. Talents unused, words unsaid, opportunities not yet taken. Some may never find their locks. Some may open doors you do not yet see. And some may simply remain as reminders that you are capable of opening when the time comes. The key, without a door, teaches patience. It tells you that potential is not wasted simply because it waits. Waiting is its own form of purpose. The key rests, yet it is still key. When you open your eyes, You bow slightly toward the iron lying still. You leave it where it is, knowing its truth does not require action. You step away, carrying its quiet promise. When the right door appears, you will know. Until then, the key is enough. The corridor narrows, then widens suddenly into a tall, echoing chamber. At its far wall, set into smooth stone, is a window. Its frame is carved from marble, its edges worn by time, yet there is no glass within it. Beyond the window lies only more stone, blank and solid, as if a wall was built behind it. It is a window that opens onto nothing. You stand before it, puzzled at first. A window is meant to give vision, to offer a glimpse of what lies beyond, yet this one offers only stone. Still, the frame remains elegant, arched gracefully, decorated with faint patterns of vines. Someone took care to make it beautiful, even though it shows no view. You step closer, pressing your palm lightly to the cool marble. The silence in the chamber deepens. The window whispers not through sight but through absence. It teaches you that not every opening reveals what you expect. Sometimes a frame holds mystery instead of clarity. You imagine those who once stood here. Pilgrims, perhaps, expecting light only to find stone. Scholars, hoping for vision. Confronted with blankness, perhaps even popes themselves, wondering why a window was carved into stone. But you sense this was no mistake. The window to nowhere was made deliberately, as a reminder. You close your eyes and see your own life's windows. Moments you expected to reveal answers, only to find emptiness. Times you pressed your face against the frame of hope, only to see blankness beyond. Yet those moments shaped you. They taught you patience. They taught you to sit with uncertainty. The window to nowhere speaks gently. Even when vision fails, the frame remains. The structure of hope itself is treasure. The act of looking out, of expecting light, is sacred even when no light appears. You step back slowly, letting the blank stone fill your gaze one more time. It holds no view, but it leaves you with clarity. Not every window exists to reveal. Some exist to remind you that waiting is also vision. The chamber you enter now is the largest yet, its ceiling lost in shadow, its floor polished smooth. At the far end rises a dais, 3 steps high, upon which rests a single chair. It is carved from wood darkened by age, its arms wide, its back tall, its seat empty. No velvet cushion, no gold embellishment, only bare wood, waiting. You walk slowly across the chamber, each step echoing faintly. The emptiness of the throne seems heavier than any presence could be. You stop before it and look up. The chair is simple, but it radiates authority, not because it is occupied, but because it is not. You imagine those who once sat here. Leaders heavy with decision, scribes awaiting commands, couriers kneeling with news. The throne was once filled with presence, yet now it teaches a different truth. No one sits forever. Authority passes. Power rests only for a time. Even the mightiest throne must one day be empty. You close your eyes and imagine yourself seated there, the wood firm beneath your hands, the chamber silent as it waits for your words. For a moment you feel the weight of choice, the burden of guiding others. But then you rise again in your imagination, leaving the throne behind. The lesson is clear. Leadership is not ownership, it is stewardship. The empty throne speaks softly. No seat is permanent. Titles fade, crowns break, voices fall silent. Yet the throne remains, waiting for the next to come, reminding all that authority is borrowed, never owned. You breathe deeply, letting this truth settle into your chest. In your own life, too, there are throne's roles you play, responsibilities you hold, places where others look to you. They are yours for a season, not forever. To sit is to serve. To rise is to release. You bow your head toward the empty chair, honoring those who came before and those who will come after. Then you step back, leaving the throne unoccupied. Its emptiness is its wisdom. The final chamber is quiet. its walls bare, its air lighter than the rest. At its far end stands a door, taller than any you've seen here. Carved from wood darkened with age, its surface is smooth, its handle iron, worn by countless touches. This door alone stands closed. You approach slowly, feeling the hush deepen with each step. The vault has led you here, chamber by chamber, treasure by treasure, only to bring you to this. The last door, you rest your hand upon the handle. It is cool, firm, steady. You sense that behind it lies no relic, no crown, no reliquary. Behind it lies release. You are not meant to open it now, not yet. But you are meant to know it is here. You close your eyes and breathe. The door whispers its truth. Every journey ends in mystery. Every vault, however full, leads at last to silence. This final door is the reminder that endings are not empty. They are thresholds. You imagine the countless feet that walked this hall before you, each pilgrim, each scholar, each seeker, standing before this door, hand upon the handle, realizing the same truth. The treasures of the vault were never only objects. They were mirrors, lessons, reflections. And the last door shows you that the greatest treasure is not behind wood or stone. It is within you. You step back, allowing the door to remain closed. Its silence is its gift. You bow your head, honoring all that you have seen, all that you have carried, all that you have learned. The vault fades behind you now, not because you leave it, but because it has entered you. You walk away knowing this. Every crown broken, every page missing, every shard, every reliquary, every silence, each was a key. And they have opened not the vault, but your own heart. The last door waits. And so do you. The corridor bends sharply, leading into a space where the light fades almost entirely. At first, you see nothing. Then slowly, as your eyes adjust, you realize this chamber is not empty. It is filled with shadows. They drift along the walls like soft smoke, clinging to the curves of stone, pooling in corners, stretching long and thin across the floor. There are no objects here, no relics on pedestals, no scrolls or crowns. Only these shapes that shift and linger, never settling, never fully gone. You watch them closely and begin to sense that each shadow belongs to something once present. Perhaps a visitor who once stood in prayer, perhaps a candle long extinguished, perhaps objects that were removed but left their echoes behind. You step further into the chamber, and the shadows move with you. They ripple gently, like water disturbed by a pebble, as if your presence adds another layer to their dance. The air feels cooler here, but not cold. The silence is softer than in other rooms, carrying a texture, a thickness, as though the shadows themselves are sound-absorbed and stilled. You pause, and slowly you begin to recognize forms. One shadow curves like a chalice, though no chalice stands there. Another leans tall and angular, like a staff. Yet another bends into the outline of a figure, shoulders bowed, head lowered. These are not illusions. They are memories written in darkness, the imprint of what once was. You realize the chamber of shadows is a vault of absences. Where other rooms preserve the tangible, this one preserves the intangible, the outlines, the silhouettes, the faint after-images of presence. And in their quiet persistence, they teach you something. Nothing is ever truly gone. Even when objects are taken, even when voices fall silent, their shape lingers in the fabric of the world. You close your eyes and feel the shadows around you. They press gently, like a cloak settling across your shoulders. You sense not fear, but comfort. Shadows do not erase the light. They prove that light was once here. In your own life too, shadows follow. The absence of loved ones, the memories of moments past, the faint ache of things no longer present. You see now, they are not enemies, they are testaments. Each shadow is proof that something real once touched you, once shone upon you. You open your eyes again. The chamber remains dark, but the shadows glow faintly now, their edges softer, their movements calmer. You step back toward the corridor. carrying their quiet lesson. What leaves also lingers, and the traces of presence are treasures of their own. The passage descends in a slow spiral, stones damp beneath your hands as you trace the wall. At last, you arrive in a round chamber, its floor sloping inward toward a well. The rim is carved from pale marble, worn smooth by centuries of touch. When you step closer and peer down, you see no water, only darkness, deep and endless. You lean closer, and at first you hear nothing, but then, faintly, like threads of sound woven through silence, whispers rise, not loud, not distinct. Just the soft suggestion of voices, countless, mingling, fading, returning. You hold your breath and listen more carefully. The whispers seem to carry words, though you cannot make them out. Perhaps prayers spoken here long ago, voices lowered in reverence. Perhaps secrets poured into the well, entrusted to its depth. Perhaps even confessions too fragile to speak aloud anywhere else. The sound does not frighten you. It comforts. The whispers are not chaotic. They weave together like a song, gentle, endless. Each voice joins the next, each note part of a larger harmony. The well has become a keeper, holding words too delicate for stone or ink. You place your hand on the rim, and it feels warm, as though the whispers themselves rise through the marble. You close your eyes, and slowly you begin to hear your own thoughts joining them. A prayer half-formed, a memory unresolved, a longing unspoken. They slip from you without effort, carried into the darkness below, where they join the others. The well of whispers teaches you that words do not vanish. Even when forgotten by the world, they live on. Every prayer, every confession, every hope entrusted to silence is preserved in ways unseen. The well reminds you that your voice matters, even when it trembles, even when no one else hears. You step back and listen one more time. The whispers continue, unbroken, as though they have been sounding for centuries and will for centuries more. You bow your head, grateful for their witness. When you leave the chamber, the sound fades, but a part of it remains within you. You carry the truth that silence itself can keep your voice safe, and that even the faintest whisper is never lost. The final passage narrows so tightly you must turn sideways to pass. Then suddenly it opens into a chamber unlike any other you've seen. It is small, intimate, circular, and at its centre stands a single lantern, resting on a tall iron stand. The lantern glows faintly, though no flame burns within it. Its glass panels are tinted with colour, amber, green, blue, and the light within pulses softly, steady as a heartbeat. You approach slowly, drawn to its glow. This lantern is different from the others you have seen stored away. It is not broken, not empty. It shines. And as you stand before it, you realize why. It is the keeper's lantern. It has burned for centuries, guiding each visitor who found their way here. You study its frame, iron shaped into delicate arches, vines curling at the corners. The glass shows scratches, places where it has been touched, carried, perhaps dropped, yet it still holds light. Its glow is not bright enough to illuminate the whole chamber, but enough to center you, to remind you that even the smallest flame can guide. You place your hands gently on the stand. It is warm, as though the lantern breathes. You close your eyes and let the warmth seep into you. You realize this is the final treasure of the vault. Not relic, not crown, not sealed text, but light. Light that persists without flame. Light that is passed silently from generation to generation, unseen yet constant. The lantern whispers. The true keeper of the vault is not the Pope, not the guards, not the stone. It is the light itself. The lantern teaches you that what guides you does not need to be seen fully. Even the faintest glow can keep you steady in the deepest dark. You open your eyes and breathe deeply. The chamber feels smaller now, not because it has changed, but because the lantern fills it. Its glow expands in your heart, pushing back every shadow. You step back slowly, bow once more, and turn toward the passage. The lantern remains, pulsing softly, waiting for the next seeker. You carry its flame within you now, invisible but enduring, a reminder that what you have found here was never outside. It was always within you, waiting to be seen. The chamber opens wide, more spacious than many before. At its center stands a long wooden table, worn smooth by time, its surface marked with faint scratches and stains. Around it rest no chairs, only the silent memory of gatherings. Upon the table lie fragments, a chipped goblet, a bronze spoon, a cracked plate with faded patterns. Nothing shines, nothing gleams, yet the air is thick with presence. You approach slowly, running your eyes across the table. Each object is humble, ordinary, yet together they whisper of feasts long past. You imagine the sound of voices once filling this space, laughter, debate, song, the clatter of utensils, the breaking of bread, the raising of cups. Now, all of that has faded, leaving only remnants. You place your hand on the wood. It feels solid, though dry, and carries the faint scent of dust mixed with something sweeter, like old wine. You sense that this table was not only for eating, it was for communion. Not in the formal sense, but in the human sense, people gathering, sharing, remembering. The table of forgotten feasts teaches you that joy too can be preserved in silence. Even when the bread is gone and the wine evaporated, the memory of togetherness lingers in the grain of wood, in the scratches left by knives, in the stains where wine once spilled. Presence outlives absence. You close your eyes and see your own feasts, the meals you've shared, the laughter echoing long after the plates were cleared, the warmth of belonging. Many of those moments now exist only in memory. Yet, they remain alive, carved into the invisible fabric of your heart, just as they are carved into this table. When you open your eyes again, the table still stands silent, its objects broken, its surface worn, and yet you feel it glowing with abundance. For the feast was never the food, never the vessels, but the communion of souls. That nothing can erase. You bow your head gently and step away. The table remains, holding its forgotten feasts, but you carry their spirit forward into your own life. The chamber narrows, and the air grows heavy. On a stand at the center lies a cloak, dark grey, its fibres thin, brittle, fragile. At first you think it is dust itself, but then you see its stitching, faint and frayed. It is a garment, though scarcely whole. The fabric looks as though it was once consumed by fire, then salvaged, then preserved here as treasure. You step closer, noticing the scent of something faintly charred, lingering still. The cloak carries weight, not of gold or silk, but of survival. You imagine the one who wore it, wrapped in this garment, as flames consumed the world around them. Perhaps it was war, perhaps persecution, perhaps destruction by accident or design. The cloak bears no emblem, no crest, no jewel, only ashes. You touch the air above it, careful not to disturb its fragile fibres, and in that stillness you sense its lesson. The cloak of ashes teaches you that endurance is sacred, that survival itself, even burned and broken, is treasure worth preserving. It does not gleam with triumph, it humbles with persistence. You close your eyes and see your own ashes, the moments of loss, the trials that burned away what you thought you could not live without. You see yourself standing in smoke, garments singed, heart heavy, and yet you also see yourself surviving, carrying forward, even if scarred. Like this cloak, you remained fragile but whole enough to continue. You open your eyes again and realize that ashes themselves are holy. They mark what has been endured. They remind you of what has passed through fire and yet was not destroyed. This cloak tells you that survival is not small, it is victory. You bow your head before the fragile garment, honoring not only the one who wore it, but all who have survived fire. Then you step away, carrying the cloak's quiet dignity within you. The corridor opens suddenly into a space unlike any other. There are no pedestals, no relics, no scrolls, only emptiness. Yet the air here is different, warmer, gentler, alive. You step inside and feel it at once, breath. The chamber itself seems to breathe. The walls curve inwards like the ribs of a chest, and the air flows subtly, as though drawn in and released again. You pause, close your eyes, and listen. Inhale, exhale. A rhythm, steady and slow, filling the space. You are not imagining it. The chamber itself holds breath. You stand still, your own breathing joining the rhythm. Inhale, exhale. Soon you cannot tell where your breath ends and the chamber's begins. You are one with it, part of its living rhythm. This chamber carries no objects because it holds the most precious treasure of all, life itself, breath, invisible and constant, unnoticed until it is gone. The chamber of breath teaches you that everything you have seen, crowns, scrolls, reliquaries, shadows, was sustained by this simple act. Without breath, nothing else matters. You inhale again, slowly, feeling air fill your chest. You exhale, feeling release. Each breath becomes sacred, a reminder of the miracle of being alive. The chamber whispers gently, "You need not carry treasures. You are treasure, as long as you breathe." You close your eyes, letting the rhythm slow you. Thoughts fade, worries soften. You are nothing but breath. You feel yourself expanding with the chamber, contracting with it, in harmony with life itself. When you open your eyes again, the chamber has not changed, still bare, still silent, yet you are changed. You realize you have been given the simplest gift, the one hidden in plain sight, breath. You bow slightly, not toward an object, but toward the air itself. Then you step back toward the passage, carrying the chamber of breath within you, for it was always there, waiting to be noticed. The corridor slopes downward, stone floor damp beneath your steps, until you hear it before you see it. A murmur, soft and steady, echoing faintly. You walk further and come upon a chamber where the ground opens into a narrow stream. Water glides across stone, dark but shimmering in the dim light, flowing endlessly. You kneel beside it. The river is not wide, no more than the length of your arm across, but its presence fills the space. It moves with patience, carrying with it fragments of leaves, specks of light, perhaps dust washed down from chambers above. You dip your hand gently and feel the coolness wrap your skin. This river has run here for centuries, hidden beneath the vault, carving its quiet path in the dark. It has seen treasures carried in and out, voices rise and fall, yet it remains unchanged. Its waters never stop, never cling. They pass through, offering refreshment, carrying memory, always moving onward. You close your eyes and listen. The sound is not loud, but steady. It reminds you of your own lifetime moving forward, carrying you whether you resist or surrender. The river beneath the vault whispers a truth. All things flow, nothing stays still forever. You lean closer, watching the current. For a moment, you imagine it carrying more than water, perhaps whispers from the chambers, fragments of prayers, traces of forgotten footsteps. The river collects what is left behind and carries it toward a place you cannot see. Its journey is unseen, yet certain. In your own life, too, rivers flow unseen. Days carry into nights, seasons into years. Moments dissolve into memory, yet none are wasted. Each is carried forward, reshaping the riverbed of your being. You cup water in your hands and bring it close to your lips. You do not drink, but breathe in its coolness, allowing it to refresh you. Then, you let it fall back, joining the current once again. Nothing is taken, nothing lost. You rise and step back. The river continues, indifferent to your presence, yet willing to share its wisdom. You leave the chamber with its lesson clear. Let life flow, trust the current. Even in the dark, rivers know their way. The passage ahead leads into a circular room with a domed ceiling. At first, the chamber seems bare, but then you notice the way sound behaves. Each step you take reverberates, stretching, repeating, circling back to you, as though the room itself were speaking. You whisper a single word, and it multiplies, tumbling softly around you until it fades into silence. You stand still, intrigued, then call out a phrase. The chamber gathers it, carries it upward, and then returns it in fragments, altered yet familiar. Echoes, soft but insistent, weaving your voice into the stone. You realize this chamber has no relics, because it does not need them. Its treasure is your own voice, reflected, repeated, transformed. Here, nothing spoken is lost. Every sound lingers, reshaped by space and time, offered back to you as gift. You close your eyes and speak again, this time slower. A prayer, a memory, a longing. The echo returns, gentler than your voice, as though the chamber softened it, cradled it, made it safe. You feel tears rise unexpectedly. To be heard, even by stone, is to be comforted. The chamber of echoes teaches you that no voice vanishes entirely. Words spoken with truth ripple outward, touching spaces you cannot see, returning in forms you may not recognize. In your life, too, echoes follow you, kindness offered that returns as grace, cruelty spoken that circles back in pain, silence carried that comes again as longing. You place your hand against the wall. The stone is cool but steady, like a listener patient beyond measure. You whisper softly, "I am here." The echo answers, faint but sure, "Here." The chamber has heard you. You step back slowly, allowing silence to return. The echoes fade, but you know they are not gone. They remain folded in the stone, part of its memory now. You leave with the certainty that your words, too, will never truly vanish. The next passage leads to a chamber low and warm, lit by a faint glow from niches in the walls. You step closer and see them, small clay bowls resting in rows, each filled with seeds. Some are tiny, like dust, others larger, smooth and oval, their shells hardened by time. Each bowl is labelled with words etched in faded script, though the language is ancient, unreadable. You walk among them slowly. The seeds rest quietly, dormant yet alive. For centuries they have waited, carrying within them the possibility of growth. They do not clamour, do not beg to be planted. They wait with patience, trusting that the right season will come. You pick up one bowl carefully. The seeds inside are small, nearly weightless, yet you sense the immense power they hold. Entire forests sleep within them, meadows of flowers, fields of grain. They are futures compressed into silence. The chamber of seeds teaches you that potential is treasure, not only what has bloomed, but what has not yet begun. The world reveres crowns and relics, but here the vault preserves beginnings, life waiting quietly in its smallest form. You close your eyes and feel the seeds in your own life. Dreams not yet planted, ideas waiting, love not yet given, forgiveness not yet spoken. Each one rests like these seeds, silent, patient, carrying more within them than you imagine. You place the bowl back gently. The seeds remain, still waiting, still certain of their purpose, and you realize the vault's wisdom. Not all treasures shine in the present. Some wait, unbroken, untouched, until the moment they are called to grow. You bow your head slightly before leaving. The seeds do not stir, do not demand, yet you know they will one day rise. And as you step back into the corridor, you carry with you the lesson that your own life holds seeds, too small beginnings, that may yet grow into wonders. The passage narrows, then widens suddenly into a hall lined with shelves. Upon each shelf rests a bell. They are of every shape and size, small hand bells with wooden handles, great bronze bells carved with symbols, slender silver bells etched with stars. Some shine faintly, polished by time. Others are dulled, their surfaces mottled. None of them ring. You step closer, listening. The silence is almost overwhelming. A hall of bells, yet not a single sound. You reach for one, gently brushing your fingers across its rim. It trembles slightly under your touch, but no note escapes. The bells here are not meant to be struck. Their silence is their treasure. You pause and imagine the moments they once carried. Perhaps they rang in processions, their sound echoing through streets, calling people to prayer, warning of fire, announcing peace. Their tones once filled the air, commanding attention, summoning hearts. Now they rest in quiet, preserving the memory of their song without making a sound. The chamber of bells teaches you that silence after sound is sacred. The echo may fade, but the memory remains. To ring forever would be to exhaust. To rest is to honor what has already been given. You close your eyes and imagine them ringing again. The hall fills with layers of tone, deep bronze booming, silver chiming, wooden handles vibrating in your palm. The sound swells, harmonies colliding and folding over each other until the space itself becomes music. Then, as you open your eyes, the silence returns. You understand now that the song is not lost. It lives in memory, in imagination, in the spaces they no longer fill. In your own life, too, bells have rung. Moments of triumph, of loss, of change. Each rang out clear and then fell silent. Yet you carry them still, their sound echoing in your memory. You bow your head, honoring the bells that do not need to ring to remind you of their power. Then you step away, leaving their silence intact, carrying their memory as if it were music still playing softly inside you. The next chamber smells faintly of smoke. As you step inside, you see shelves filled with books, their covers blackened, their pages curled. Some are intact enough to recognize as volumes, others crumble at the edges, leaving only fragments. The air is heavy with dust, and when you breathe, you taste something faintly bitter. You move closer to one shelf and carefully slide a book forward. Its spine flakes at your touch, its pages whisper as you open it. Most of the words are gone, burned away, leaving only shadows of letters. Still, you sense the presence of what was once written. These were not destroyed entirely, they were transformed. You imagine the flames that once touched them. Perhaps war, perhaps censorship, perhaps accident. Whatever the cause, the books endured. Their knowledge may be fractured, but their presence is undeniable. They live now not in words but in ashes. The chamber of ashen books teaches you that memory survives even when form is broken. A story does not vanish because its pages burn. It lingers in the mind of anyone who touched it, in the whisper of charred letters, in the dust that clings to shelves. You close your eyes and imagine reading from these burned pages. You hear voices rising from the ashes, reciting words that once filled the air. You realize you do not need the entire text to carry its truth. A fragment is enough to awaken the imagination. In your own life, too, some stories have burned, plans dissolved, dreams shattered, memories reduced to fragments. Yet even those ashes contain wisdom. Even broken stories remain stories. You place the ashen book back carefully, watching a small puff of dust rise. Then you step away, bowing slightly to the shelves. These books do not need to be read to be honored. Their silence, their ashes, are treasure enough. The corridor ahead glows faintly before you step inside. The chamber you enter is circular, its ceiling high, and its walls polished smooth, but it is the light that arrests you. A single opening high above lets in a shaft of pale brightness. The light strikes the floor, then scatters upward, bouncing from wall to wall until the whole chamber glimmers softly. You stand in the center, lifting your face. The light is warm but not harsh, bright but gentle. It seems alive, moving slowly, as though the walls themselves breathe it back and forth. This chamber is not filled with relics, not lined with shelves. Its treasure is light itself. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. The chamber teaches you that light never disappears, it only changes form. It enters, reflects, returns, spreads. What begins as a single beam becomes a whole room alive with brightness. You imagine the countless visitors who have stood here before you, each touched by this glow. They may have seen it differently, one calling it divine, another calling it nature, another calling it mystery. Yet for all, it was the same, light returning, filling darkness with gentleness. You breathe deeply, realizing your own life has this rhythm too. You have known times when light seemed to vanish, when shadow pressed close, yet always, in some form, light returned. A kindness, a memory, a dawn after long night. The chamber of returning light whispers, "Trust the return. Shadows never last." You open your eyes again. The chamber glows still, calm and steady. You bow your head, letting the light trace your face one last time. Then you step toward the passage, carrying its lesson in your chest. When all else seems gone, wait. The light always comes back. The corridor you follow narrows until the air feels close. Then it widens again, revealing a low-ceilinged chamber lined with shallow niches in the walls. Inside each niche rests a fragment of metal keys, but none are whole. Some are snapped at the stem, others missing their teeth. A few are so corroded that they crumble at the edges, leaving only vague outlines of what they once were. You move carefully, peering at each one. The fragments glimmer faintly, their edges reflecting the dim light. Though they can no longer open anything, the room hums with their presence. These broken keys were once guardians, unlocking chests, doors, and secrets. Now they lie here useless, and yet strangely powerful. You kneel before one niche, lifting a fragment no larger than your finger. It is jagged, brittle, but you feel weight in it, as though it carries memory. You imagine the lock it once turned, the creak of a door swinging open, the gasp of someone stepping inside, the secrets revealed beyond. That moment still lives inside this fragment. The chamber of broken keys whispers a lesson. Usefulness does not define worth. These keys can open nothing now, yet they remain here, honored. Their history is treasure, their brokenness is sacred. You close your eyes and think of the broken keys in your own life. Moments that no longer function, paths closed, tools no longer needed. You realize they too carry memory. Their worth is not erased by their brokenness. You set the fragment back gently, bowing your head. The chamber fills with silence, but you feel it thrumming with stories locked into the metal itself. You step back slowly, leaving the broken keys behind, carrying with you their truth. Even fragments can be sacred. Even what no longer opens can still teach. The next passage leads you into a long, narrow hall. Against the walls lean instruments, a harp with broken strings, a flute cracked at its mouthpiece, a drum with torn skin, a violin missing its bow. Each one bears marks of use, scuffs, dents, scratches, yet none make sound now. You walk slowly, your footsteps echoing faintly. The silence here is different, not empty, but waiting. You imagine the music that once filled this space. The harp plucked in gentle chords, the flute carrying a melody, the drum pounding steady, the violin singing, all of it once alive, now hushed. You kneel before the harp, brushing your fingers across the broken strings. They rattle softly, faint and uneven, not music, but memory. The silence holds their song even now. You sense it in the air, like notes suspended invisibly. The chamber of silent instruments teaches you that music never fully dies. Even when strings break and voices falter, the echo remains. Songs live in those who heard them, in the spaces they once filled, in the memory of the instruments themselves. You close your eyes and listen deeply. Slowly, as though rising from the stone itself, you hear it. Faint strains of melody, fragments of harmony, the heartbeat of rhythm. Not literal sound, but impression. You realize the vault itself remembers the songs. In your own life, too, music fades. Laughter falls silent, voices disappear, rhythms shift. Yet, their essence lingers, carried within you, shaping how you move, how you speak, how you live. The silence of past music is never empty. It is full of memory. You bow your head toward the broken instruments. Their silence is not defeat. It is testimony. You rise and step away, carrying the quiet music with you, knowing that even in silence, song continues. The next corridor glimmers faintly, as though light shifts ahead of you. When you step into the chamber, you see why. Mirrors line the walls, tall and narrow, framed in dark wood, their surfaces spotted with age. Some reflect clearly, others blur and warp, some fractured into cracks that scatter your image. You step carefully, looking into the nearest mirror. It shows your face, but softer, as though time itself has touched it. Another mirror shows you taller, your outline stretched. Another shows you doubled, two shadows overlapping. Each one gives a different reflection, none entirely false, none entirely true. You move deeper, glancing from one mirror to the next. The chamber feels alive, as though each reflection watches back. You pause before a cracked mirror, its surface splitting your image into fragments. You see yourself multiplied, scattered, yet all still you. The chamber of mirrors teaches you that no single reflection defines you. Each mirror tells part of the truth, distorted yet real. To know yourself fully, you must accept all reflections, the clear, the blurred, the fractured. You close your eyes and imagine the mirrors of your life, the way others see you, the way you see yourself, the shadows and lights of memory. None is complete alone, but together they form a mosaic, a fuller picture of who you are. You open your eyes again and face the largest mirror at the far end. It reflects you not as you appear, but as light, your outline glowing, blurred at the edges, fading into the room. For a moment, you feel yourself dissolve into brightness, no longer face or body, but presence. You bow before the mirrors, honouring the many faces of truth. Then you step toward the passage once more, carrying the chamber's wisdom. You are not only one reflection, but many, and together they form the treasure of your being. The corridor bends, and when you step inside the next chamber, you are struck by its simplicity. The floor is bare stone, but lining the walls are rows of shoes. Some are delicate slippers, their fabric worn thin. Others are heavy boots, scarred with use. Sandals with broken straps rest beside leather shoes, polished smooth by centuries of steps. All of them empty, all of them still. You move slowly, your footsteps echoing among shoes that once echoed themselves. Each pair tells a story. You imagine the journeys they carried, pilgrimages across mountains, processions through marble halls, daily walks through city streets. Feet once filled them, pressing into their leather, shaping their souls. Now they stand silent, as though waiting for their owners to return. You kneel before a small pair of sandals, their straps are frayed, the soles almost worn through. You touch them gently, and a wave of tenderness rises. A child once wore these, running perhaps through courtyards, chasing shadows, laughing. That laughter still clings faintly to the leather. The chamber of silent shoes whispers, every step matters. Even the smallest journey leaves an imprint. The shoes may rest, but the path continues. You close your eyes and see your own shoes, the ones that have carried you through countless days. You remember the journeys they held, the places they touched, the stories they gathered. Each step part of a greater trail, invisible yet eternal. You rise and look around the chamber again. The silence is not heavy but gentle, like a pause at the end of a walk. You bow your head slightly, honouring the feet that once filled these shoes, the paths they walked, the lives they carried. Then you step back into the corridor, your own footsteps sounding louder now, as though reminding you the journey continues, and every step is sacred. The next chamber glows faintly, its shelves stacked high. But as you look closer, you see the scrolls are blank. Dozens of them, rolled and tied with faded ribbons, line the walls. You take one gently, unrolling it, expecting words. Yet its surface is pure emptiness, smooth and untouched. You unroll another, then another. Each one the same, no ink, no script, no story. And yet they rest here as if sacred, preserved as carefully as any illuminated manuscript. You pause and realize the truth. These scrolls hold silence as their treasure. They were never written on, or perhaps their ink has faded beyond sight. Either way, they carry possibility. The Chamber of Empty Scrolls teaches you that what is unwritten is as important as what is preserved. Potential itself is holy. A blank page is not absence but invitation. You close your eyes and imagine the words that might have been inscribed. Prayers, decrees, poems, songs, or perhaps these scrolls were left blank deliberately, honouring silence as sacred text in itself. In your own life, too, there are empty scrolls. Dreams not yet begun, stories not yet told, paths not yet chosen. You realise they are not wasted spaces, they are openings. They wait with patience, ready for the moment you decide to write. You roll the scroll carefully, placing it back upon the shelf. Then you bow your head to the silence, honouring its quiet invitation. You step back toward the passage, carrying the reminder that unwritten chapters are not loss but possibility. The corridor ends in a tall archway, beyond which lies a vast chamber filled with statues. Figures carved from marble, stone, bronze. Some are life-sized, others towering. Their faces are serene, their forms graceful, yet all are still. You walk slowly among them, their silence immense. Each statue seems mid-movement, an arm raised, a step half taken, a gaze directed upward. Yet they are frozen, their gestures unfinished. They seem to breathe, yet they do not. Their stillness is complete. You stop before one carved in marble, a figure kneeling in prayer, lips slightly parted. You almost hear the prayer rising, yet no sound escapes. The statue is breathless, caught between inhalation and release. The chamber of breathless statues teaches you that beauty can be preserved in stillness, but life itself requires movement. These figures are stunning, yet incomplete. They remind you that your own breath, your own motion, is treasure beyond stone. You close your eyes and imagine them alive, their lips moving, their arms finishing their gestures, their feet stepping forward. The chamber would be filled with sound, movement, laughter. But then you realize that their power lies in stillness. They are reminders, not replacements. They hold silence to show you the value of your own voice, your own breath. You inhale slowly, exhale softly. Your breath fills the chamber, carrying life where the statues cannot. You realize you are the moving figure among them, the living presence in a hall of stillness. You bow your head toward the statues, honoring their beauty, their silence, their reminder. Then you turn and step back toward the corridor, carrying their lesson. You are alive, and that is treasure enough.